What I am about to share with you is not opinion. These are the exact same 5 habits I have personally recommended to every patient over 50 who sits across from me concerned about cancer. And the transformations I have witnessed still stop me in my tracks. Here is something most people over 50 have never been told, and it genuinely surprises even some of my own medical colleagues. Your body is producing cancer cells right now. Not dozens, thousands. Every single day, cells in your body mutate, divide incorrectly, and develop the potential to become malignant. In a healthy body, your immune system finds these cells and destroys them before they can ever establish themselves. You never know it happened. You never feel a thing. The system works silently, constantly, and brilliantly. But after 50, that system begins to weaken. Not all at once, gradually. Like a security camera whose picture gets a little fuzzier each year. And the habits you practice every single day determine whether that system stays sharp enough to catch every threat or whether it eventually misses one. My name is Dr. John. After 15 years of clinical practice focused on adults over 50, I have spent my career studying exactly why some patients develop cancer and why others, with the same genetics and the same age, simply do not. And what I have found has fundamentally changed how I counsel every person who walks into my office. In 2022, researchers at Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health published a landmark study in the journal JAMA Oncology, following over 135,000 adults across 2 decades. Their finding was staggering. People who consistently practiced a specific cluster of daily lifestyle habits reduced their overall cancer risk by up to 61% compared to those who did not. 61%. That is not a marginal improvement. That is the difference between a diagnosis and decades more of healthy life. Before we go any further, I want to hear from you. Drop your age in the comments right now. Just your age and your biggest health concern after 50. I read every single comment, and knowing who is watching helps me create content that genuinely serves you. Today, I am walking you through 5 daily habits that protect your body against cancer at the cellular level. Ranked from foundational to life-altering, we will build toward the single most impactful one. And I promise you, by the time we reach it, you will understand not just what to do, but exactly why it works inside your body. Do not skip ahead. Each habit builds on the last. And habit number 1, the one that ties every mechanism together, is something that most cancer prevention advice completely overlooks. Stay with me. Let us begin with habit number 5. The first habit is to drink water like your cells depend on it, because they do. Let us start with something that sounds so basic that most people dismiss it entirely. And once you understand what is happening at the cellular level when you are chronically underhydrated, you will never take another sip of water for granted. Your body contains a waste removal system called the lymphatic system. Unlike your blood, which has your heart to pump it, the lymphatic system has no pump. It relies on your hydration levels and your physical movement to flow. When lymph fluid moves properly, it carries dead cells, metabolic waste, and importantly, abnormal and potentially precancerous cells to your lymph nodes, where immune cells called lymphocytes inspect and destroy them. When you are dehydrated, which the vast majority of adults over 50 chronically are, your lymphatic flow slows. The inspection system backs up. Abnormal cells that should have been caught and eliminated linger in your tissues longer than they should. But dehydration does something else that is directly relevant to cancer. Your kidneys are your body's primary filtration system. They remove toxins, metabolic waste, and carcinogenic byproducts from your bloodstream and excrete them in urine. When you are underhydrated, your kidneys cannot flush these compounds efficiently. They recirculate, and prolonged exposure of your tissues to carcinogenic waste products increases mutation risk. A prospective study published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology followed over 47,000 men for 10 years and found that those who drank 6 or more glasses of water per day had a significantly reduced risk of bladder cancer compared to those who drank fewer than 2. The researchers attributed the reduction to a simple mechanism. More water means more frequent urination, which means less contact time between carcinogenic compounds and the bladder lining. Research from Loma Linda University found similar protective effects for colon cancer. Adequate water intake keeps the colon lining hydrated, supports healthy bowel transit, and reduces the time that potentially harmful substances remain in contact with intestinal cells. I had a patient, a 62-year-old retired postal worker named James, who came to me after a precancerous polyp was found during a routine colonoscopy. When I asked about his daily water intake, he said, "Coffee in the morning, maybe a glass with dinner. That is about it." James was drinking less than 3 cups of actual water per day. His urine was consistently dark, his bowel transit was slow, his inflammatory markers were elevated. We started simply. I asked James to drink 1 full glass of water within 10 minutes of waking, a glass before each meal, and a glass in the evening. 6 glasses minimum, no supplements, no special water, just consistent hydration. At his follow-up colonoscopy 18 months later, the gastroenterologist noted that the mucosal inflammation previously flagged had resolved. James's bowel regularity had improved. His CRP had dropped by 22%. James told me, "I cannot believe something that simple made that much difference." The fix: 6 to 8 glasses of water daily. Start with 1 glass upon waking, before coffee, before anything else. Carry a water bottle. Set reminders if you need to. Your lymphatic system, your kidneys, your colon, and every cell in your body depends on adequate hydration to flush the compounds that cause damage. And here is the synergy to keep in mind. When you combine this habit with habit number 4, the vitamin D absorption, the immune cell production, and the circulatory improvements that depend on adequate hydration, all become dramatically more effective. Now, let us talk about the next habit, which is to get your vitamin D levels right. And this one will change how you think about sunlight, supplements, and cancer prevention forever. Vitamin D is not just a bone vitamin. Your body contains vitamin D receptors on virtually every cell type, including your immune cells, your intestinal cells, your breast tissue, your prostate tissue, and your colon lining. When vitamin D binds to these receptors, it activates gene expression programs that regulate cell growth, promote normal cell death of damaged cells, called apoptosis, and enhance your immune system's ability to identify and destroy abnormal cells. After 50, your body's ability to produce vitamin D from sunlight drops by approximately 50% compared to a 20-year-old. At the same time, many adults over 50 spend less time outdoors, wear more sun protection, and eat fewer vitamin D-rich foods. The result is that the majority of older adults in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Northern Europe are deficient. A groundbreaking 2024 study, published in the journal Science, found that vitamin D directly regulates cancer immunity through the gut microbiome. The researchers discovered that vitamin D shapes the composition of gut bacteria, promoting species that enhance anti-tumor immune responses. In a national cohort of 1.5 million people, they found a clear link between low vitamin D levels and elevated cancer risk. The study concluded that vitamin D is a critical regulator of the immune system's ability to fight cancer, and that this regulation works partly through the gut. Separately, a study published in the journal Cancer found that vitamin D supplementation increased objective response rates and prolonged progression-free survival in melanoma patients receiving immunotherapy. While this was a treatment study, it illustrates the profound role vitamin D plays in how your immune system handles cancer cells. Research has also connected adequate vitamin D intake to reduced risk of colorectal cancer specifically. A study found that daily vitamin D intake greater than 450 IU was associated with significantly lower risk of colon cancer, and that obtaining vitamin D through food sources produced a greater reduction than supplementation alone. I had a patient, a 70-year-old woman named Harriet, who came to me with a strong family history of breast cancer. She was vigilant about screening. She ate well. She exercised. But her vitamin D level, when we tested it, was 18 nanograms per milliliter. Clinically deficient. She had been indoors most days, wore sunscreen constantly, and her diet included very few vitamin D-rich foods. We implemented a three-part approach: 15 minutes of morning sunlight exposure daily without sunscreen on her arms and face, 2 servings per week of wild salmon or sardines, and a daily vitamin D3 supplement of 2000 IU, taken with a fat-containing meal for optimal absorption. Within 4 months, her level had risen to 48 nanograms per milliliter. Her NK cell counts, measured through follow-up blood work, improved by 29%. Her oncologist noted a measurable improvement in her immune markers at her annual review. The fix: get your vitamin D level tested. Ask your doctor for a 25-hydroxy vitamin D blood test. Optimal levels for cancer prevention are generally considered to be between 40 and 60 nanograms per milliliter. Get 15 minutes of morning sunlight daily. Eat vitamin D-rich foods, fatty fish, egg yolks, fortified dairy. Supplement with vitamin D3 if your levels are low, ideally 1000 to 2000 IU daily, taken with fat. Always work with your doctor to determine your individual needs. And here is the synergy. Vitamin D's cancer-protective effects work partly through the gut microbiome, as the 2024 science study showed. When you combine optimal vitamin D with habit number 3, which directly feeds and supports that microbiome through food, the anti-cancer immune response becomes compounded. Before we get to habit number 3, I need you to understand something. What you are about to learn is one of the most powerful cancer prevention strategies in all of nutritional oncology, and it costs less than $1 a day. Every cell in your body is constantly exposed to carcinogenic compounds. From the food you eat, the air you breathe, the water you drink, and the metabolic waste your own body produces. Your cells possess a defense system called phase 2 detoxification enzymes. These enzymes neutralize carcinogens before they can damage your DNA. They are your cell's internal hazmat team. After 50, the activity of these enzymes declines. Your cells become less efficient at neutralizing threats. This is one of the reasons cancer risk increases with age. The threats are the same, but the defense weakens. That is why you should eat cruciferous vegetables every single day. Cruciferous vegetables, which include broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, cabbage, and arugula, contain a compound called sulforaphane that is the most potent natural activator of these phase 2 detoxification enzymes ever discovered in food. When you eat broccoli and chew it, an enzyme called myrosinase converts a precursor called glucoraphanin into sulforaphane. Sulforaphane then activates a master switch in your cells called NRF2, which triggers the production of dozens of protective enzymes simultaneously. But sulforaphane does something else that is directly relevant to cancer. It promotes apoptosis, the programmed death of damaged and abnormal cells. In plain language, it tells precancerous cells to destroy themselves before they can grow. It also inhibits histone deacetylase, an enzyme that cancer cells use to silence tumor suppressor genes. By blocking this enzyme, sulforaphane reactivates the very genes your body needs to keep cell growth in check. If you are finding value in what we are covering, I want to pause and make a request. Subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and share this video with someone over 50 who you care about. This content takes significant research to produce, and your support allows me to keep making it freely available. Now, habit number 4 is one that surprised even me when I first reviewed the evidence, because it is something we all need every day, and almost no one thinks of it as cancer prevention. Now, habit number 4 is stay socially connected. I know what you might be thinking. Social connection sounds soft. It sounds like a wellness recommendation, not a clinical intervention. I want to share with you exactly why that perception is dangerously wrong. In 2023, a systematic review and meta-analysis of 90 cohort studies, including over 2.2 million individuals, was published in Nature Human Behavior. It found that both social isolation and loneliness were significantly associated with an increased risk of all-cause mortality and cancer mortality. not just associated, significantly associated, across 90 studies, in over 2 million people. A separate analysis found that socially isolated breast cancer survivors had a 43% higher risk of recurrence and a 64% higher risk of breast cancer-specific death compared to socially connected survivors. 64% higher mortality from the same disease, based on whether a person had meaningful social connections. Here is the biology behind this, and it is not abstract. Social isolation triggers a chronic activation of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the same stress system that produces cortisol. When you are chronically lonely or isolated, your cortisol levels remain elevated. As we discussed earlier in the cancer prevention context, chronically elevated cortisol suppresses the tumor-fighting capacity of your immune system. It downregulates NK cell activity. It upregulates NF-kappa B, the inflammatory pathway that promotes tumor cell survival and resistance to apoptosis, the natural process that kills abnormal cells. But loneliness does something else that researchers are only now beginning to fully understand. It alters gene expression in your immune cells, a phenomenon called the conserved transcriptional response to adversity, or CTRA, has been documented in multiple studies. In lonely individuals, immune cells show increased expression of genes involved in inflammation and decreased expression of genes involved in antiviral and antibody responses. In practical terms, your immune system shifts from cancer-fighting mode to chronic alarm mode. It becomes less effective at targeted threats and more prone to collateral damage. I had a patient, a 73-year-old widower named George, who came to me after his wife passed away. George had no chronic disease. He had been healthy his entire life. But in the 18 months after his wife's death, he became increasingly isolated. He stopped attending church. He stopped having lunch with his former co-workers. He spent most days alone in his house. When George came for his annual exam, his blood work told a story his words did not. His cortisol was elevated. His CRP was elevated. His NK cell count had dropped by nearly 30% compared to his previous year's results. He was biologically more vulnerable to cancer than he had ever been, and nothing about his diet, exercise, or medical history had changed. The only variable was isolation. I did not prescribe a pill. I prescribed a connection. I asked George to commit to one social interaction per day: a phone call, a coffee with a neighbor, a walk with a friend, attendance at his church group once a week. One meaningful human contact every single day. At his 6-month follow-up, George's cortisol had normalized. His CRP had dropped. His NK cell count had rebounded. And George told me something I carry with me. He said, "I thought grief was supposed to hurt. I did not realize loneliness was making me sick." The fix: one meaningful social interaction every single day. A phone call, a visit, a shared meal, a walk with a friend, a group activity, a community event. Human connection is not a luxury. It is a biological necessity that directly regulates the immune surveillance system that stands between you and cancer. And here is the synergy that makes this habit so important in combination with everything else. Social connection reduces the chronic cortisol that suppresses your NK cells. Those are the same NK cells that are amplified by the vitamin D from habit number 4 and the gut microbiome support from habit number 1. When your stress system is calm, every other cancer protective mechanism in your body performs better. Everything we have covered so far, the hydration, the vitamin D, the cruciferous vegetables, the social connection, all of it is prologue. Because habit number 1 is the one that ties every mechanism together into a single, unified biological intervention. And the research behind it is so compelling that I believe it is the single most important daily habit for cancer prevention available to any person over 50 on Earth. Lastly, feed your gut microbiome every single day. I want to be very precise about what I mean here, because this habit is often reduced to eat yogurt or take a probiotic. What I'm describing is a specific biological strategy with documented anti-cancer mechanisms that have been confirmed in human research, and it is the simplest, most powerful, zero-cost cancer prevention intervention I have encountered in 15 years of clinical practice. Inside your gut live approximately 100 trillion microorganisms. Collectively, they are called your gut microbiome. And the gut microbiome is not just a digestive system. It is an immune system. It is a hormonal regulator. It is a communication network between your intestines and every organ in your body, including your brain. And in the context of cancer prevention, it may be the most important system in your entire body. Here is why. Roughly 70% of your immune cells reside in your gut. The composition and diversity of your gut bacteria directly determine how effectively those immune cells function. Specific bacterial species produce short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate and propionate, that have direct anti-tumor effects. Butyrate promotes apoptosis in colon cancer cells. It suppresses the Warburg effect, the metabolic shift that allows cancer cells to grow rapidly. It activates tumor suppressor genes, and it strengthens the intestinal barrier, preventing the leakage of inflammatory compounds into the bloodstream that fuels systemic inflammation. A 2025 study, published in Nature Metabolism, confirmed that the metabolites produced by gut bacteria, specifically butyrate and propionate, are what the researchers called unique epigenetic regulatory elements that alter gene expression in ways that suppress tumor development. They do this by influencing how your DNA is read and expressed without changing the DNA itself. Your gut bacteria are literally programming your cells to resist cancer. But the microbiome's role in cancer prevention extends beyond butyrate production. Your gut bacteria regulate estrogen metabolism. Estrogen-dependent cancers, including many breast and endometrial cancers, are influenced by how efficiently your body processes and eliminates estrogen. A healthy, diverse microbiome supports proper estrogen clearance. A depleted microbiome allows estrogen to recirculate, increasing exposure and risk. And the 2024 study in Science that I mentioned earlier, the one linking vitamin D to cancer immunity, found that vitamin D's protective effects work partly through reshaping the gut microbiome. The researchers discovered that vitamin D promotes the growth of specific bacterial species that enhance anti-tumor immune responses. This means that the vitamin D from habit number 4 and the microbiome support from habit number 1 are not separate interventions. They are two sides of the same biological coin. After 50, the diversity of your gut microbiome naturally declines. The protective species decrease, the inflammatory species increases, and the shift is accelerated by the standard Western diet, antibiotic use, chronic stress, and insufficient fiber intake. Most adults over 50 consume less than 15 grams of fiber per day. The recommended amount is 25 to 35 grams. That gap is not just a nutritional shortfall, it is a cancer vulnerability. I had a patient, a 66-year-old retired nurse named Vivian, who came to me with a history of precancerous colon polyps and a deep fear of following in her mother's footsteps. Her mother had died of colorectal cancer at 71. Vivian's diet was reasonably healthy by most standards, but her fiber intake was 12 grams per day. Her gut microbiome diversity, measured through a stool analysis, was in the bottom 20th percentile for her age group. We did not add supplements. We did not add medications. We added fiber. Gradually. A cup of lentils 3 times per week, a daily serving of oatmeal, cruciferous vegetables every day, berries with breakfast, a tablespoon of ground flaxseed on her yogurt. Over 8 weeks, her fiber intake rose to 30 grams per day. At her 12-month follow-up, her microbiome diversity had improved substantially. Her butyrate-producing bacteria had increased measurably. Her inflammatory markers had dropped, and her follow-up colonoscopy showed no new polyps and a resolution of the low-grade inflammation her gastroenterologist had previously flagged. Vivian told me, "I spent years worrying about my mother's cancer. Nobody ever told me the answer might be in my gut." The fix: feed your microbiome every single day with diverse, high-fiber, whole plant foods. Beans, lentils, oats, vegetables, fruits, nuts, Seeds. Aim for 25 to 35 grams of fiber daily. Add fermented foods. Plain yogurt with live cultures, sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir. These introduce beneficial bacteria directly. Reduce the foods that damage your microbiome. Ultra-processed foods, excess sugar, artificial sweeteners, and unnecessary antibiotics. And here is the profound synergy that ties all 5 habits together. Feeding your gut microbiome amplifies every mechanism we have discussed. The butyrate produced by your gut bacteria directly suppresses tumor development in the colon and throughout the body. That butyrate production depends on the fiber from your cruciferous vegetables in habit number 3. The immune surveillance that catches cancer cells is regulated by your gut microbiome and enhanced by the vitamin D from habit number 4, which shapes your microbiome composition. The NK cells that destroy early-stage cancer are more active when cortisol is low, which depends on the social connection from habit number 2. And the lymphatic system that carries abnormal cells to your immune nodes for inspection flows more efficiently when you are properly hydrated from habit number 5. This is why I call your gut microbiome the master lever. Feed it, and every other cancer protective mechanism in your body gets stronger. I have a video on the one food that can help you fix your gut. You should see it, and I have attached it in the comments section. The research I have shared with you today does not come from studies of 30-year-olds with perfect genetics. It comes from studies of people exactly like you, adults in their 50s, 60s, and 70s who made targeted daily changes and produced measurable, documented biological improvements. Your cells are not fixed. Your risk is not sealed. Every morning you wake up is another opportunity to shift the conditions inside your body from vulnerability to protection. Now I have one final question for you. Of these 5 habits, which one are you going to start this week? And what is the biggest obstacle standing between you and that first step? Tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to know, and I will respond. If this video gave you something valuable today, hit the like button. Subscribe so you do not miss what is coming next. And share this video with one person over 50 who deserves to know this information. You might be handing them the most important 20 minutes of health information they receive this year. Your future self is counting on the decision you make right now. This is Dr. John. Thank you for reading. Protect your cells, feed your gut, stay connected. I will see you in the next video.